Okay, so for this video, I want to take a few minutes and give you a basic general overview of our audio mixing console. So this is the Allen & Heath SQ5 audio digital console. There are a couple things that will help you get your head wrapped around what we do here. But to be very, very basic, you have to understand some things. That an audio system is basically comprised of two things: input, output. The old saying goes, what comes in, most goes out, right? Well, we have to have a way to tell what comes in, where it's going out. So if you remember on the earlier video I showed you, we have a couple different ways we go out. Okay, when putting the camera back out here, you remember I showed you the different monitors up on the stage, and then there's the big speaker that's facing us up on the top here. That's the main speaker, and we refer to it as main, or left right main mix. Okay, so basically everything. If you're sitting on one of these pews or you're standing back here at the audio console, you want to be able to hear what's coming on a microphone. So this is kind of real basic here, but going back to the setups here, we have different microphones that we use up on the stage. You'll probably see one over by the piano. There's microphones. The pastor wears a microphone on the lavalier. There's microphones we use in different inputs. For example, the acoustic guitar is mic'd, okay? The bass guitar is mic'd. There's an input for both of those. All these have different inputs. Any input that you see that correspond to a particular channel all the way across, how do you get that to come out of the sound of the different speakers on the top there? And there's a little terminology we use in the audio called routing. I want to route where this microphone signal is going to come out at. Okay, so basically, in an overview, you'll see that there is a input. We have all these labeled from pastor, orange, genie, there's yellow, mic, pulpit, etc., all the way across the board. We won't get into the specifics on this video of where goes what, but nevertheless, if this is anything basically the pastor says, this is how we control what the pastor is heard. Okay, so pastor, etc., etc. On our microphones, we have color strips on all the mics. This is white for mic, but I also have it labeled for mic. This will normally show white color, it show in pink, because on the video camera it would not really come through clearly when I had it white. But anyway, it usually says white, and I have my name, Mike, on here because this is the mic I will typically always use. So the microphones are turned on. I have it turned on here on the bottom, and we'll go over that later. But so I'm on here, and so now notice Mike is now talking to the microphone, but we're not hearing anything come out of any speakers. Why is that so? Okay, so what I want to do is look at the console, and you'll see basically we have a lot of different options over here. On this side of here, we have and this is basically mains. I'll put a sticker that says mix select. Where the left right is the main speaker. That's the big speaker you see up here hanging off the ceiling. So if I want to have any of these microphones come out of that speaker, I have to come here and make sure this is selected. And so my desk now, all of these sliders now will give me volume to that speaker. But you'll see right now, like a mic, I'm talking into this microphone, and I'm still not hearing any type of sound come out of that, come out of the main speakers. Why is that so? Well, if you'll notice across each of these, we have the little things they call mute. Now, I know that sounds very basic. A mute means you don't hear anything, but that is a very, very important thing, because that means when these are selected, nothing coming into this channel will be heard. It's a faster way than just sliding things up and down. Plus, we may have something set at a certain level, and I don't want to necessarily take it down. And then later on in the service, I forget, well, what was it here? Was it up here? Or was it here? Okay, so we have it pretty much set. And then when I don't want to have it on, I push the mute button. So if I were to turn this off, and notice now my left right button is on. So now when I talk into this microphone, you can now hear stuff coming out of audio coming out of the main speaker. So that's very, very helpful. And that is the case for every one of these input. I can duplicate, no matter if it's the pastor mic all the way across, I would simply unmute it in order to get that particular sound. So that's that. Now, you'll notice also on the right side of the board, we have additional mixes. So earlier I showed you where we powered up the different monitors on the stage. There was this monitor on the right side, left side, the one on the top, the band monitor, the choir monitors. Now this can get a little confusing, but for just a general description right now, basically we can put a different mix into each individual monitor. So for example, if someone is sitting at the piano, if I am playing piano, or Miss Sally or Miss Marquita, whoever is playing the piano, and they will not necessarily want to have everything in that particular speaker coming out to them. They don't need to hear all the little small things. For example, they may not need to hear what's in the pulpit microphone and that speaker, for example. And you wouldn't want that, because sometimes if you get too much coming out of one speaker, it dilutes the entire mix. So we only put in these individual speakers what needs to be heard to monitor it at that particular time. So with that being the case there, on this side of the board, I have the controls for the different mixes that we send out to. And let me go through these one by one. Band is just that. I described that on the stage a while ago. That's the musician's monitor that's up on the stage. I can only zoom in so far on here, but that's where the guitars and what they can hear through that particular monitor. That's the band. Let me go back here. This is the band. These right now are empty. IEM stands for in-ear monitor. You'll notice I wear these little earbuds on Sunday mornings, and that stands for in-ear monitor. So in-ear monitor 1, we have another in-ear monitor 2. That's a separate mix. I can put into my ears certain things that I want to hear. You know, I don't need to hear everything in my ears. For example, we have the audience microphone. That's helpful to some extent, but I don't always want to hear everything that's going on in my ears that's out in the congregation. I want to hear my voice. I want to hear the instrument. So I can mix separately all these individual microphones into what's in my ears. So the same thing for the piano. That is descriptive of itself. There's a monitor by the piano. This controls the audio going to the piano monitor. Okay. This is the we have stage right, stage left. If I'm looking at the stage, it is my right and left, but that's not stage left, stage right. Stage left, stage right. We did this to be correct. When you're sitting, when you're on the stage, you're looking to your left. That is stage left. So technically, that's our right, but stage left, stage right, in accordance. So each of those monitors up on the stage can be controlled differently. And then, like was moving on down, the choir. There's a monitor that is facing the choir loft. That's the speaker behind the big speaker. And we will put different things into that particular monitor. The stream, I went over this earlier on the other board. This is all the audio that's going to the live stream computer. This is the hearback. Sunday mornings, we have different folks who are hearing impaired, and they wear a little earbud. And this allows us to send audio to their ears, and we can control what's done. We don't adjust this very often. It's pretty well preset. And then subs is just that. Sub is that big black speaker that's on the wall. Only certain things go into that particular speaker, and only at certain frequencies. For example, if I'm playing, you'll notice here I have this selected, and the only things that are up are the tracks. But if I were to play audio from the audio system, okay, that is that nice booming sound that you hear. We can control the depth of that sound through here. Really, the only other thing that's up, you'll see that's up real high is the bass guitar. Okay, that is up pretty high right now. We'll probably adjust this at some point, but that's the bass guitar. So that is set. So there's only certain things that go into the sub mix. You don't have to mix that too often. For your purposes, working back here on a Sunday morning, you're going to be your main mix that you are mainly concerned about is the left-right. That is your job, is to hear and to control what everybody else out here in the congregation is hearing. Okay, so this is your mainstay. You are responsible for mixing what you hear out here. During rehearsals, we will adjust these, but very seldom, if things go like they're supposed to go, you should not be having to adjust these individual mixes in a live setting. Okay, these are all pre-done for you. I can control these through my iPad as well. I have a couple phone apps, so we're able to hear. But occasionally, you know, I may be up there singing a special music, okay, and all of a sudden, like over Jeannie or whoever is singing up on the platform, and so say Jeannie is singing, okay, and I unmute her mic, and Jeannie is singing away all lovely as she sounds. She's the most beautiful voice in the world. She's singing, okay. We are playing a soundtrack. Let me just go ahead and do that. I mean, I'm gonna play some sound here. Well, pardon me, my computer's a little slow. I'm just going to pick something at random. Here's Amy Grant, okay. So I'm gonna play Power in the Blood. I'm gonna go to the tracks. Nobody can hear those because they're muted, okay. So there's a left and a right. We'll talk about that in another time, but left and right, notice here. If I want to hear it, that takes it down. Takes it up. But so suppose we have Jeannie now singing along to this track, and she's up here and she wants to say, hey, listen, I can't hear anything up here in the front. I can't hear anything in the monitor. Well, how we're going to do that in a live setting is that we're going to go over here to the stage left or stage right. Say she's on the left hand side. So she wants to be able to hear this track. So now, and now up on the stage, you can't hear on the phone, but I just turned that volume up on the stage. So that's how I would do it quickly to adjust on the fly. Typically, this is set during rehearsal. Okay, so that's a basic overview how we mix into the very different monitor settings, okay, whether if it's the piano, band, or whatever. So that is a basic thing. Now, functionally speaking, on a Sunday morning, we have shortcuts. So if, for example, I'm going to pick up my microphone and I'm going to unmute it. I'm talking into my microphone. And if you were in here, you might hear a slight echo in my voice. Well, that's because when I'm singing, we want to brighten up the sound of somebody singing because it gives more depth to the sound. But just in a speaking voice, we don't necessarily want to hear that. So if I was just talking to everyone out here, we don't want to hear that wet, reverby sound that you're hearing. And that's true across all boards. So we have it set where you go to press mute FX. So now, if you were listening, if you can hear on the phone, this on the camera that is that it doesn't sound echoey anymore. And that's perfect because I'm talking and you don't want to hear that sound. But if I were to take this and put that back in there, now it has that nice echoey sound, which is great for singing something like Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Okay, and that might be even a little too wet for our liking, but that is how we get the reverb sound, and we mute it while somebody is basically when they are just in a regular talking voice. Someone's introducing a song, for example, or whatever, we would have those muted. And it takes somebody to be paying attention because we want to take advantage of how nice it sounds when people are singing. So we want to make sure that is actually on. And that's true for the FX3. We got different effects for instruments, etc. So that's how that's done. We want to use the soft keys. These give us an overall mute to certain that. So now you see where I have a soft key for a mute Vox. That's basically muting all the vocal mics with the exception of the ones, so like you see how this is flashing, okay? Now, my mic is never put in this group, okay? So my mic is muted, but the pastor's mic should not be muted. Maybe it is. So this is the quick way, if we have a lot of these different layers going on here, how we mute them all at the same time. It's a shortcut. Okay, that's what the soft keys do. So I'm just trying to make sure we have done everything on, so you know how to come in on a Sunday morning. So, and to basically get things going. I showed you the setup again. So just to recap, if somebody is coming here and we're on a Wednesday night and I have a pulpit set up right here in the middle and the pastor has his lapel mic on, I'll put his mic on my lapel right now, and his pack is turned on, ready to go. How do you get this little microphone right here to make sound out for everyone else? Well, first we have to give it to the pastor. He has to make sure it's turned on. That's his responsibility to make sure it's turned on and powered on. He has it in the proper place. But over here, I'm going to go to the board. I'm going to find pastor, and I'm simply going to push the mute button where it's now turned off. And now the pastor is coming in and out. Well, excuse me, left, right. So now this is the pastor's mic. Louder, softer, by just turning the fader up and down or simply muting it to turn him off. So that's using the pastor's mic. Again, if I'm on a Wednesday night, I'm using this microphone. It's my responsibility as the performer to make sure the mic is turned on. You can't do that from up there. So the singer has to make sure their mics are powered on, they're turned on. I'm going to go to my particular, if I'm using the white microphone, it says mic. I'm talking to my microphone and you can hear me now. I'm turning it up, turning it down. And again, that's done by going to the left-right mix, turning it on, selecting it. So I'm selecting the left-right, and now all of these channels are selected, either muted or controlled by the faders on the left-right. Okay? If somebody is playing a track, either from the media computer, you can barely hear it. I'm going to turn them up, left-right. Okay? If I were to mute these, you would no longer hear anything out of this channel. Okay? I mute it, control the volume. If I wanted to change, if I wanted to be able to hear this up on the stage, I have to go to the stage left and adjust the volume that way. Same thing for that one. Okay? So that's the recap.